Welcome everyone to Preparing for the Holidays. And a special thank you to Maureen Sirianni for returning to present another webinar for us. She presented a webinar, Understanding Expressions of Emotion and Dementia, in April. And Maureen is the Memory Care Outreach Specialist and Marketing Director at Country Meadows, which is located in the South Hills. She has provided support and guidance to family and loved ones with dementia for over 26 years. And I think you'll really enjoy this presentation today, and please feel free to share it with others that might benefit as well. If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat box and Maureen will answer those in the present time. So thank you so much, and I'll let you take it away, Maureen.
Thank you so much for having me, Casey. I'm happy to be back. And I mean, it's freezing outside. At least it's freezing to me. So it's a perfect time to talk about the holidays. I don't think it's ever too soon to start thinking about it. And kind of as caregivers, getting your head in the game and, you know, really and truly preparing and thinking in a mindful way how to set yourself and your loved one up to succeed by, you know, just taking what you always do and finding a way to adapt it to the needs and the emotions of the person that you're caring for, whether they have Parkinson's disease or Parkinson's disease with dementia. Again, it's just a great opportunity for us to be able to think about how we want to celebrate you know, the next coming months and what's important to us as individuals and as a family unit. So thank you again so much for having me today. And as you can see, I've added my direct cell phone number to the presentation. So, you know, if families or caregivers have questions at a later date, you can always send me a text or give me a call. I'm always happy to support the community. So we'll go ahead and get started, okay? So I'm kind of taking you on a little bit of a journey, and it is so individual. Nothing about anybody's family is really truly cookie cutter. So as I discuss this, I want you all to really just think about your loved ones, your traditions, your family, and just start to allow yourself, if you don't have a notepad with you, grab one and take some notes as I'm talking. And that way you'll really be able to kind of build a plan for yourself. So this first slide just talks really about traditions and what the past looked like, not only for you, but even further back. So if you're caring for a parent, you want to start to allow yourself the opportunity to time travel and think about what their traditions were, what their past looked like. And you really want to kind of get yourself into that mindset. And you can do that with the knowledge that you already have, by comparing notes with siblings or another parent, or just with the person that you're caring for in an individual and intimate kind of setting. So when we talk about what the past looked like, again, we want to open up by reminiscing what those traditions looked like. And if you are doing it as an activity and you're reminiscing with your loved one, you want to be able to break it down into each individual step. And by doing that in the reminisce process, it actually provides your loved one the opportunity to find more details to share. And oftentimes when we're talking about the past, we kind of talk about it as a surface level. Hey, remember we used to bake these cookies and it was so much fun. Well, that's great. That's a wonderful big memory. But when you break it down and you talk about, you know, where did you learn that recipe from? Or, you know, what kind of stores did you go to find those ingredients? And then you take it to the next level, which people always remember was there ever a time when those cookies got burnt or the recipe was ruined or we accidentally put the wrong ingredient in? And when you ask more specific details about breaking down the steps of reminiscing a tradition, that's when you find those hidden gems in people's memories. And so I would encourage you to really look at not just the tradition as a whole, but breaking down those steps, because that's where you're going to find more information. And you're going to be able to enjoy that time that you're spending with your loved one or the one that you're caring for. And again, it makes it more meaningful in the moment. So you want to ask questions like, where did that tradition become, relevant in your family? Who started that tradition? Who was in attendance when, that event occurred? So if it was always a big hayride, who attended it? How did you get invited to it? Were there any family members that brought loved ones, or, and building on it? Sometimes you'll have families talk about community events and over the holidays, and how everybody in the neighborhood got together and everybody participated. So again, you want to ask the questions in the right way to help bring out some of those hidden memories. Again, talking about what were the results of those traditions, again, the failures and the successes. Oftentimes when something didn't work, that's when it was the funniest or the most memorable. And people like to laugh about the past, not just because, it's fond memories, but sometimes it's the fiascos that are the most memorable things because they all survived it. And then you talk about how to pass those traditions on, and asking that person that you're caring for what they want to see happen in the future. And when you do that, you're giving the person that you're caring for a platform. I always talk about, and you'll hear me say it a few times today, doing for, doing with, and doing to. And so when you're caring for someone and you're talking about preparing for the holiday season, you really want to, as a caregiver, put your mindset into doing with. And so by asking them their opinion, you're providing them that opportunity to participate with you in, how things are going to roll out during the holiday season. And you want to also, too, I think it's great if you're decorating your home or decorating your loved one's home, you want to revisit every room in the house and talk about how it had been decorated in the past. Do you want to continue that, or would you like to see something different happen? Again, as people age, they look to the past in order to remain relevant in the present. And so when we bring the past to them and, even ask them to revisit their childhood home and their memories and say, how did your mom decorate the living room? And allow them to recreate that visual memory for you. And then we'll talk about some of the props that you can use and utilize in order to do that with them. And so what we're going to talk about right now is really looking at utilizing your senses. So we talk about what the past smelled like. And you can do that by pulling out old recipe cards, looking at those recipes, talking about those recipes, reminiscing the smell of what the house was like, when the baking season started. I know for myself as a small child, as soon as the weather started to get really cold, I still remember, trying to get out of the school bus and down the street and into the house. And as soon as you open up the front door, I still have that sensory memory of having fresh baked bread just kind of hit me in the face, and that smell and that aroma and the warmth of my mom's kitchen. And so when you allow yourself to time travel and you allow yourself to recreate some of those sensory experiences with the person that you're caring for, you'll open up so many different doors of opportunity to talk and discuss, what was relevant and memorable to them from the past. And so when we talk about using our sense of smell, again, recipe cards, old cookbooks, if anybody that you cared for, was a cook, you can bring those out. I think a lot of really cool things you can do now is you can look at images on an iPad, and you can Google and just look up old recipes. And typically those old recipes will have a visual with them. So you can utilize real-time technology to visit the past with somebody that you're caring for. And again, it's a great opportunity, especially if the person that you're caring for with Parkinson's disease also has some level of dementia, because it's such a visual stimulant if you're using an iPad. I also say you can utilize things like candles or scented lotions, or just bake with your loved one in general. I always tell people too, and for some reason, caregivers, they beat themselves up so much about this, because they want everything to be perfect. If I'm going to go through all of this and I'm going to get this all set up, I want it to be perfect. And that's where I think the caregiver sets themselves up to fail a little bit, because you're so focused on the task that you sometimes miss the opportunity for the engagement. And oftentimes, and my main focus has always been on dementia during my career. And when we would bring families together and multi-generational to bake with our residents at Country Meadows, we would always explain to them, the baking part is so important, and it's so sensory, but allow your loved one the opportunity to touch dough and press it and roll it and use it as a sensory stimulant. It doesn't have to look beautiful. It's just the process of being together and creating that opportunity for engagement. So I think once family caregivers recognize that things don't have to be perfect, it's not the end result that is the thing that matters most. It's the journey and the experience that people are sharing. And I think once you get that in your mindset, then you allow yourself the opportunity to be okay if a mistake happens, and laugh if something isn't just quite perfect. But just knowing that you're experiencing something with the person that you're caring for in real time, because that's where the memories matter most. And so we talk about sounds from the past, and this is something that it's so easy to do with holiday music, but you also want to look at other opportunities that you may have forgotten that you have at your fingertips. Old family videos, again, utilizing things like Google or YouTube to look at music and memories from different genres and different times. Doing a little math on your end and calculating maybe when your loved one was a teenager, and looking at the music of that time period and playing that kind of music or that style of music while you're caring for your loved one. It's a wonderful way to, bring that sensory and that livelihood back into their lives, especially holiday music. Favorite holiday movies. Again, sometimes people don't have the endurance to last to watch an entire movie, and that's okay. Breaking it down into doses, a little bit at a time, and just creating those memories and discussing with them and asking them their opinion about, what they see and how they felt when they experienced it the first time. Musicals, records. I always laugh because bells, chimes, and choirs, especially during the holiday season, if your loved one is unable to get out, you can bring that stuff right into the home with current technology, which I think is a wonderful opportunity for them to participate in the holiday season in a manner that, maybe we hadn't thought about in quite a while. So just take those kind of ideas into consideration. And we'll look at the next slide, and it talks about the tastes from the past. And even with a special diet, you can incorporate tastes from the past. You just have to allow yourself the opportunity to be creative. Don't be afraid to order out or create your own. And just know that, when you're being creative, it really is an investment in time. I can't remember if I talked about this the last time I presented to you, but I have a family member that I counsel and I work with, and right smack dab in the middle of COVID, he is caring for his wife. And it was a milestone birthday of his own. He was turning 65, and they had gone to Italy a few times over their marriage, vacations and the such. And his wife has Alzheimer's disease. And so he knew in the middle of COVID, they couldn't go out, and he really wanted to do something for himself. And so what he did was he actually got online and he ordered food from their favorite restaurant in Italy. And he said it was insanely expensive, but it was worth it. And they had a celebration, and they did it, safely in their own home. So that's why I added this bit to the presentation today, because, being creative, it is an investment in time. Sometimes it's an investment in your finances. But again, if something is meaningful and memorable and you want to recreate that opportunity again, it's definitely worth it in the long haul. And so just allow yourself the opportunity to think outside the box. It's okay again, and you'll hear me reiterate it, things don't have to be perfect. Great props like pre-made cookie dough. Pittsburghers call them jimmies. Other people call them sprinkles. We know that jimmies are the right term though. Chocolate chips. Again, just setting up a sensory stimulant at a dining room table or at a kitchen island and allowing your loved one to touch things and taste things. Those are wonderful props that you can have laid out, and you can have it as an intergenerational opportunity, because you want to remember to see, to feel, to touch, and to taste. And again, it's a wonderful opportunity to create those new traditions and visit the ones from the past. And I think a lot of what I'm talking about is really common sense, and it's things that we've probably done in the past and didn't even think twice about. So I'm hoping that this presentation provides you the opportunity to kind of elevate your game. Think about, oh, hey, I do this. Well, now Maureen says, try this, that, and the other, and that'll take it to the next level. And I think that you'll find that, you are keeping those traditions alive. You are engaging your loved ones as they age, and they feel part of the family, part of the tradition. Again, there are so many things as caregivers that we have to do to and for our loved ones, but there are so many opportunities as the holiday season comes for us to do things with them. So we talk about another, and this is probably one of my favorites, is we talk about touch, and we talk about what the past felt like and how we can take what the past felt like and bring it into our real-time reality now. It's so important. As people age, they lose that repetition of touch. When I do presentations about aging, we talk about how children are touched all the time. They're hugged, their hands are being held, they're being carried, they're with their siblings, and there's so much sensory overload. And then they turn into teenagers and young adults, and touch appears differently. And then, they get married, they have children, grandchildren, and then touch sometimes and oftentimes becomes less and less, a hug here and there. So again, as people age, you want to remember how much sensory stimulation is so important to them, and the sense of touch. So things like blankets and quilts and tapestries, things that maybe were created in the past and passed down through the family. Bring those things out, bring those treasures out, and allow for stories to be told about those things. For my mom, who's now 90, she crochets a lot. And in the past, when her eyes were better and stronger and her hands were better and stronger, they were created and passed down as gifts of, blankets and throws and things. And so it's nice to be able to bring those things out and have my mom touch them and talk about them, and, understanding the meaning behind why she created what she did. And so I think that's always an opportunity. Quilts and tapestries also, even if they are store-bought, when you look at a quilt or a tapestry, it tells a story. So you can utilize that as a prop with your loved one to create conversation and ask them their opinion about what they see and what it feels like. Sweaters, scarves, mittens, earmuffs, those kinds of things shouldn't just be left in the closet. You can utilize those as a sorting tool. You can utilize those as just a big box of things to touch and share opinions on, and discuss where they would wear these things and opportunities. I think textures, colors, any type of animation. I know you're probably thinking, what does animation have to do with texture and color? And I know it sounds absolutely silly, but I've seen in the past in like the Hallmark store, they have those animated penguins or bears. And I know it sounds silly because you think, well, that's for children, that's for small children. You would be shocked and surprised at how much joy those silly animated holiday bears and penguins and elves, the such, they provide a lot of entertainment and humor at any age. And so animation brought in as a sensory stimulant can be really enjoyable. So, you're going to do it. I'm sure you will. You're going to go into a Hallmark store and you're going to see them and you're going to be like, Maureen said to touch that. And I want you to go in and turn it on, press that button that says, press here to play, and see the joy that it'll put on your face, and know that it does the same for the elder population as well. Embrace purposeful activities like washing dishes, washing fruit, silverware, sorting, separating. As you're preparing for the holidays, you can bring your loved one along and have them participate, even in a small manner, just knowing that they are with you and they are engaged. And, you might have 15 things on your plate, but you're going to have your loved one there with you. And you're going to say, could you please sort these napkins for me? Or could you please count the forks and make sure I have enough? And just give them small tasks and tools that they can use. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no right or wrong answer. And provide them the opportunity to do a purposeful engagement, something that is going to help them utilize even the smallest of skills that they may still have, because there's a knowing in that. I was with my daughter, I was with my son, I was with my spouse, I was with my sister, and this is what we did today. And allow them the opportunity to take some ownership of that holiday preparation or holiday time. I think that's just one of the best things that you can do. And I added this, untangle the holiday lights, because it doesn't matter how hard I try. When I put holiday lights away, they look okay. But when I open the box up and they come back out, they are a nightmare. And it actually made me add this, like I said, to the presentation, because I have a picture and I have a flashback of when my now 21-year-old daughter was 3 years old, and she had gotten into those lights and she had tangled herself up in them. And so my husband just plugged them in and our kid was lit up. And it's a funny memory that I'm going to have with me forever, So again, untangling holiday lights, it doesn't have to be dangerous, it's sensory. You can plug them in and have your loved one touch them and feel them, and and discuss and engage with that. So there's so many different opportunities. And like I said, what I'm sharing with you today is just some simple thoughts and opinions to hopefully remotivate you and, kind of get you back into a positive frame of mind as we enter the holiday season. Because you want to look for those little moments of success. You want to be able to, embrace and wrap your love around those moments in time, because we never know how long they're going to last. And so again, there's no wrong way of doing anything. You want to do what's important to you. And so when we talk about traditions, you also need to talk about who is important and the memories of those traditions. And so we talk about, how do we reminisce the important people in our lives? And, oftentimes when I'm doing presentations and I'm talking to people, if someone has passed away, either a long time ago or just recently, it's still so important to talk about that loved one that may be gone and bring them into the conversation and reminisce, what was so important to that person and how we celebrated with that person. And, and it's okay to grieve, and it is okay to laugh and to reminisce and to say, what would they think of everybody here today? And allow your loved one the opportunity to find their voice and share. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things that we can do. Because like I said, it is okay to say, I miss those days when. I miss that person because this one made me feel special because. And then allow yourself maybe the opportunity to, pay homage, or, recreate a memory in honor of that person that is no longer with us. And I think that's just a wonderful way to blend the past and the present as we talk about, what the future looks like. Because traditions are important. And if we continue to talk about our past, that gets carried on, into the future generations. And I think it's just a meaningful opportunity to never forget those that we love that we've lost. And so we talk about additional sensory opportunities, holiday decorations, again, pulling them out and putting them up. Even if your loved one has physical, challenges or constraints, it's still important to be able to have them right there with us to point in the direction of where we're supposed to put things, or asking them, would you like to place it somewhere different this time? Or, the story and the origin and the meaning behind why we do what we do with holiday decorations. I also think that this is important, and I put a couple little stars by it. Even if the crowd is not going to be there, even if the family is getting smaller, even if, you're going somewhere else for the holiday, you're going to be, hosted by someone else, it's still so, so, so important to add some decorations and help your loved one that you're caring for feel that holiday spirit, and have those decorations in their home or in their room or their apartment, that help them feel that they're part of the holiday season. So I think it's so important that we do put, I call them anchor pieces or memorable pieces, that can transform us back in time to certain places. And so that's really important. Even if you're not going to be hosting an event, you still want to make sure that you have some decorations up that'll motivate your loved one. And take the time to reminisce the meaning behind each one of those decorations, where we bought it, why we bought it, why we don't like it, but we keep it, or why we love it so much. Holiday cards and wrapping paper. I am a huge fan of doing this, especially caring for people that have dementia. When you receive holiday cards, save them, because they can help you tell a story later on, especially after the holiday season is over. I'm talking January, February, when it's cold and it's difficult and you can't really get out, and you would like to find something to do. That's when you really want to pull those cards back out and take a look at them and reminisce again. Oh, this, we got this card from Maureen. She sent this over the holidays. Look at this beautiful picture. So it's really important that we go ahead and take a look at that. We talk about ornaments. Socks can be turned into a match game. I always tell people, even if you just go to the dollar store or Five Below, they have the craziest holiday socks, and they can be so enjoyable when you have a big pile of them, and they create conversation. And again, they feel good. They're fuzzy, they're colorful, and it provides a sensory stimulation for your loved one, where they might be folding them or sorting them or wearing them. So it's just a great fun opportunity. Ornaments, again, the dreidel game or other displays, ugly holiday sweaters. The senior citizens that I care for, they get the biggest kick out of the ugliest holiday sweaters around. So what's stopping you? Buy one for your loved one and let them laugh. Let them laugh at you, let them laugh at themselves, and enjoy that. I have no idea how or when the ugly Christmas sweaters have become a tradition, but I have a lot of them myself, and I think that is a tradition that will remain. Again, with the holiday cards, even if you're not in the mood to send them anymore, you can buy them very inexpensive and use them as reminisce tools, and allow your loved ones to touch them and hold them, and decide who maybe they want to send one to. So that's a great opportunity for you to really, I always say any type of art, you know, even if it's a Christmas card or a holiday card, be able to jump into the picture and say, you know, hey, what do you think's going on there? What would it be like if we were there? I love being able to do that. It does. It just provides additional conversation and support, and in a very creative way. And so this one, this slide's really important to me because this helps you put yourself in check a little bit more, because I think as caregivers, we're always saying, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for my loved one, and this is how it needs to be. And we get so in our own head that sometimes we forget just to let it be, you know? So always remember, the heart processes feelings and the head processes facts. So if you look at your loved one's feelings, when you validate their feelings and you really and truly hear them and you allow them the opportunity to share with you and express their emotions and their thoughts and their opinions with you, that helps them to feel happy. But when we don't do that, when we work around them and not include them, and we don't ask them their opinions, and we tell them, you know, this is how we have to do it, and it has to be that way, and it has to be this way. Sometimes I think as caregivers, we think we're being helpful because we're doing everything for them. But again, you don't want to do everything for them. You want to do it with them, because if you're doing everything for them and you're not really validating, you know, their feelings, then they can get frustrated. So your behavior affects your loved one's feelings. And it's really important that you focus on that, because your loved ones, I don't necessarily like to use the word behavior, but their emotional reactions, they're going to relate to a positive reaction, or they're going to relate by shutting down to a negative reaction. And then your feelings, you always have to consider your own feelings as well, because with your feelings, your loved one's behavior also affects you, you know? So if you're putting on a show and you're doing your best and they're really struggling through it, it's going to bring your energy down, you know? So I think that always using prolonged and direct eye contact with somebody, maybe slow your speech down a little bit and really look them in the eyes and prepare them for whatever the opportunity is that you're about to participate in. You know, and acknowledge how they're feeling. Maybe their energy is low that day, or they're not physically feeling good. Acknowledge that. Hey, I know that today's a bit of a struggle and you're not really feeling 100%, but I thought it would be so much fun to pull out some holiday decorations and just start slow. I brought some stuff out for you to take a look at. And just start like that. And you'll feed off of their energy and they'll feed off of yours. And you want to, like I said, maintain that eye contact with them. Because
I don't even know what a threshold ramp is, but I think.
Oh, sorry, someone's talking. But again, you want to feed off of each other's energy, so that way you're able to stay in balance with them. And again, you want to focus on the positive, but also acknowledge if they're struggling. Okay. And again, the behavior chain. Some observations to help you determine how to engage your loved one. Okay. So if you know what their triggers might be, it's really important that you recognize that. And if me challenging you helps you to say, oh, I never thought about that before. I never thought about what triggers my loved one. Because look at some of the things that I've listed: boredom, hunger, thirst, overstimulation, incontinence, too much light, too much sound, if the crowds are too large. These are all great examples of what overstimulation looks like. So if your loved one is sensitive to any of those things, you want to make sure that you stage the space before you bring them into it. So that way they're not overwhelmed. And then different forms of thought, also known as their perception. So you want to look at what their perception of the environment is that you're bringing them into. Because oftentimes in real-time reality, you know, we're all thinking one thing, but the person that we're caring for might perceive it differently. So it's just really important that, you know, we focus on what some of those thoughts are, because oftentimes they may lose some of that social filter and they may respond inappropriately or they may respond appropriately. So again, it's just knowing your loved one in that moment and really focusing on what's important to them and also staging the area and the space for them. And then again, you want to end with that consequence or the natural result, which flows from something else. So if your loved one is really struggling because it's too loud, they might become moody or they might become upset, or they might be the kind of person that loves the noise and loves the music and loves the crowd. And you might see a lot of joy and a lot of excitement from them, but you also want to observe them for fatigue because they may burn out quickly. Another quick thing that I was just thinking about over the holiday season is just also be really mindful of hydration. Oftentimes we forget, if we need a drink, we can easily just run and grab something, but the air quality is going to change, the homes and the environment's going to start to get a little bit drier. And so it's important that they have hydration. There's some wonderful non-alcoholic beverages for the holidays. There's some wonderful alcoholic beverages for the holidays. It's just knowing what's important to your loved one and knowing how to help them celebrate in a manner that's going to keep them safe as well. And again, with the word fatigue, plan for pit stops along the way. If you know that you're going to be having a large holiday celebration, bring that change of clothes and leave it in the car, backup supply of snacks or backup supply of something that might be important to them. If you're taking your loved one out and you know that it's going to be a day-long event, maybe just bring them some slippers so that they can take their shoes off and have some comfortable footwear on. Again, just easy, simple things that you want to think about as we, slowly enter into the holiday season. So that way, you're setting them up for success and then they'll be able to enjoy and participate in the holidays as well. So retaining abilities and focusing on what your loved one has and what they can still do. Again, this is extremely important. And again, it's a great opportunity for you to think about a loved one or someone that you might be caring for that does have Parkinson's dementia, because they can still recognize facial expressions. So they read body language. They know when you're happy, they know when you're sad, they know when you're annoyed, when you're tired. And they experience those emotions as if they are their own sometimes. We absorb each other's energy. So it's just really important to keep that in mind for yourself when you're, entering the space of someone that you're caring for. They respond in nature. So, if the house is getting a little stuffy, there's nothing wrong with opening up a window and letting some of that brisk cold air come in. A cat or a dog, a bird, snow, rain, any of these, they're wonderful stimulants. Again, it's just a nice opportunity to bring nature into their world. Again, they respond with music, they respond to touch. Even if you're dancing in a wheelchair, it's still wonderful to have some type of movement and energy, and distinguish between different types of touch and different tones of voice. Again, for the holidays, we're coming up on a time that's pretty intimate for families and tradition, and to be able to keep that energy moving forward for your loved one is something really positive that you can start to pre-plan for now. I just added this because I think this is just a wonderful opportunity. Memories do matter, whether it be something that you like to eat or drink. There's that ugly Christmas sweater. He even added a hat to his. The holiday lights. I always think this is such a great opportunity if you're able to get your loved one out to see some holiday lights, even if it's just in the neighborhood. Maybe scope the neighborhood a couple of nights before you plan your trip. Make some hot chocolate, put it in some travel mugs, and create that opportunity to drive around and look at the holiday lights. Wrapping gifts. Nothing has to be perfect, decorating a tree. You can do a smaller tree, you can do a large tree. My kids had a heart attack when they grew up and moved out. And my husband and I bought a pencil tree. The first time they saw it, they're like, what did you do? This is so weird and it's not a real tree. And my husband and I were like, yeah, but it's good for us. So again, you want to do what's good for you and what's good for your loved one, and take the opportunity, also just looking out the window. If the neighborhood kids are sled riding, or grandkids are outside playing in the snow, or somebody builds a snowman, use the window as a form of entertainment. I know for a lot of people, I tell them all the time, you definitely should invest in a bird feeder. They can provide so much entertainment and opportunities, just to kind of engage your loved ones. I know my mom absolutely loves hers. So there's just great opportunities for you, because like I said, memories do matter, and we're making memories all the time. And I never want any of us to live in the land of should have, would have, and could have. There's opportunities that we can do things right now. So let's let the holiday season begin. I think it's really important that we start to pre-plan and just kind of get excited for what the future holds. And again, you're coming out of a place of love. So there's nothing that you can possibly do that is going to be wrong or unforgiven. Enjoy the holiday season, even if it's in the smallest of ways. And if anybody ever has any questions, you can either email me or you can call me directly. I'm always happy to talk.
That was wonderful, Maureen. Really a wonderful overview. And I think it's a good reminder of all that we can experience with our loved ones during the holiday season. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I see an excellent. Yes.
Well, it's common sense things, and it's things I think sometimes we just need to be reminded about and remotivated to do,
Maureen, this is a little bit off topic, but any quick tips for people who are experiencing loss for the first time, and things that they may do in addition to the things that you suggested to get through holidays?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're experiencing loss in my family this year. We lost two just amazing people in our family, and we, as the elders, my sisters-in-law and I are talking about, how we're going to get through the holiday season, and motivating our kids and motivating our spouses. Because we've had such a family loss this year, and I think it's important that that families recognize the loss and grieve the loss. And, I know for us, we're planning a holiday toast, recognizing the family members that we lost this year. And the adult granddaughters are going to do something to recognize that grandparent that is lost. And I think that's extremely important as well. We don't want to, live in grief, because I think that those that we lose, they want us to live on. And so I think it's important that we recognize those that we've lost, and we reminisce those that we've lost, and that we bring that to the forefront. I had one family member once say that they even set a place setting at the table, for the loved one that they lost. And that way that loved one is always with them. I've had other family members tell me that they light candles, and that the candle is lit at the table during the holiday meal, representing the loved one that they had lost. And like I said, I don't think there's any wrong answer. I think that grief is real, and I think that grief can be raw. And I think that grief is a temporary place in time. I think that we need to allow ourselves to feel the feelings that we're feeling of grief and loss. And that's what will allow us to get through that space. Because if you allow yourself to grieve, then you don't necessarily have to delve into that stagnant space of depression. Like I said, I think that grieving and talking and sharing about loves that have been lost is a source of healing. It's a tattoo on your heart. It's always going to be broken. But again, grief allows us the opportunity to feel those feelings and get through to the other side. And I hope that helps.
Could I offer up an idea in that category?
Yes, please.
Had a friend who had a friend, and the father, the head of the household, passed away. So the next family gathering, everybody, and he always sat in the same chair at every, special occasion meal. Everybody would put their name in a bowl or his favorite hat. The person they'd pull a name. That person would sit in his chair for the meal, and the person that drew, whose name was drawn, would start the memory sharing. They would start with their own memory of that person, and then everybody would get their turn around the table. And every year it could be someone different, or at every occasion it could be someone different.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
That's a nice tradition, a nice way to remember. And I like the thoughts of, feeling those feelings, and also the whole idea that, the holidays don't have to be perfect, and they won't be.
Oftentimes, like I said, I think the best memories are built on the mistakes that happened and the things that got burnt, or the things that got lost, or, some of those are the best memories, because, as humans, we're flawed, and if we expect everything to be perfect, then we set ourselves up to fail. And then we're so focused on the actions that we miss the experiences, we miss the people, and we miss those emotions that are attached to them. So yeah, mistakes are okay.
One time at a holiday event, my family, I started around the table because we had multi-generations, some people very, very old. And I asked everyone to go around the table and talk about their favorite Christmas gift. And it was amazing to hear from some of those older people about their childhood gift and what meant so much to them. And we never would have known that. It was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Asking an older person about Santa Claus, how old were you, or what did Santa bring you? You can transport them back in time, and you watch everybody else around the table go, I had no idea that memory was in there. And so sometimes I think that if we don't know how to ask the question, we're never going to get the answer. So It's okay to just ask the question. I always encourage people: who, what, when, where, how. Never ask why. Just who, what, when, where, and how. And it can take you back in time, to a memory that you didn't even know existed sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you again, Maureen. Thank you for everyone who joined us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And
It was wonderful.
Yes, getting ready for the holidays. Well, everyone have a good afternoon, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.